Hey, welcome to Keight Krafts. I'm Keight. Today I would like to share with you an adorable Christmas beaver card. Let's get started. So, to cut down on time, I am only going to show you the coloring that I did for these two little beavers. Now, I don't end up using both of these beavers in today's card because I ended up making two. I made two while I was creating this first one, but the video got so jumbled between the two that it was so hard to tell the story of how it came together that I ended up just cutting a lot of that footage out. But if you stay tuned till the end, I will show you how I use the other beaver in the finished card. So you'll get a bonus card at the end of this project. Anyway, so with my beavers, I am going in with lightest or darkest to lightest, and I'm trying out this technique where you leave just a little thin white line with your dark marker around the edges in some spots, so that way you can do a little bit more shading. I am still learning how to do this. I still need a lot of practice with my Copic markers, but I'm learning, and I'm having fun while I'm learning. I think these are probably one of my favorite mediums to color with because they're so easy but so difficult. I don't know, I recently did some projects for Your Next Stamp, and I did one of them with colored pencil, and it was a very time-consuming thing to do. And I am so out of shape when it comes to colored pencils that it made me appreciate Copic coloring that much more. So that's why a lot of my videos are in Copic colors, but eventually I'm hoping to expand on what I'm able to do or use or create with in future videos for 2023. So if you're enjoying 2022 and all my silly antics and shenanigans, maybe you'll want to come back for 2023. I don't know. Could be a plan. Anyway, so for the background, I have already taken a stencil that I created using the sun from all the clouds. And all I did was I took a full stick piece of Post-it note and I cut out a mask of the sun, and I just put that on my card at the top, or at least where I think it needs to be. And I went in first with some Stormy Sky, and now I'm bringing out this faded jean around the edge of that Stormy Sky, and then I will go in again with some chipped Sapphire at the end. Now the idea behind this was to kind of create some kind of gradient, I guess, going from lightest around the moon and then eventually darkening it out as you go further into the sky. I probably could have gotten away with some darker blues, but I think overall in the end I kind of liked how this turned out. It wasn't overpowering, and it went along nicely with the foil that I used in this card. And I don't know, you'll see here in a bit how it turned out. I need more reinkers. I just have the reinker for this Sapphire one, and I'm starting to think maybe I need to watch some videos on how to clean my brushes. Do you guys have any recommendations for how to clean brushes, or have you watched a video that just, gave you all the information that you needed to know on how to properly clean them? I'm kind of worried about cleaning them and cleaning them wrong, so if you let me know down in the comments below how you like to clean them, or what video you watched that you think I might like, I don't know, let me know, because I really need to do something about these brushes. So once I'm done the splattering here with my Fine Tech pearlescent watercolors, I'm going to take some of the, I think it was the pearl gold that I used, and I'm going to water that down and add a little bit of that white to it, and I'm going to paint the inside here where the paper is still white, where I had the mask, just to kind of give that moon a little bit more color so it's not stark white. And I kind of like how this turned out. You just got to be very careful with going around the edges so you don't smudge the Oxide ink. And off camera I had done a bunch of the Woodgrain background hot foil plate from Lawn Fawn, and I had all these excess pieces of foil, and I have a, what do you call it, Pinkfresh Studios solid hot foil plate. So I was able to take all those scrap pieces of hot foil that I had, hot foiled the wood grain, and create all these other wood grains, and I thought this blue one would be really cool for water. Now, because it is in a portrait mode, because it's in portrait and not landscape, I had to get a little bit of little creative here. So what I'm doing with this Hillside stitch border die is I'm kind of mapping out where I need to cut my glitter cardstock. And I've cut my glitter cardstock and my white card panel and the Hillside Stitch Water one that I did using the Outside In Stitched Scalloped Stackable die, the largest one. So I'm just kind of creating my hill, my snowy hill with my little watery background, and that's going to set my scene. Now off camera, this is the coloring that I didn't show you. I'm using the little potion jars from Purrfectly Wicked, and they're not going to be potions today. They're going to be maple syrup. And I'm using the box from the special delivery add-on, and I've cut the little notch out so I can fit in all my little boxes of maple syrup, because when I was making this, I thought it was funny, because on the Canadian nickel, if you're not familiar with Canadian currency, on our 5-cent piece, the Canadian nickel, it has a beaver on it. And when I saw Lawn Fawn was coming out with the beavers, I thought it would be funny to have a beaver receiving maple syrup for Christmas. Because this is a Canadian card. So anyway, I've got the log from the Would You Be Mine set, and I've got these little string of lights which are from Furry and Bright that I've already colored and cut off camera. Now, I don't know about you, but I would really love to see Lawn Fawn come out with a set of different strings of Christmas lights. Now, I know they have a die where you can cut the Christmas lights out off the string, and then they've got the extra piece where you could cut out different colored cardstocks for the different light bulbs in the string. But I don't have any other Christmas light strings like this. Now, I think there is one in, oh god, I can't remember. I know Steph from World of Papercraft used one from a set recently that I saw in her video, and I can't think of the name of it. I don't have it. It's on the list. But these Christmas lights came from Furry and Bright. So now it's time to assemble the scene once I've got everybody glued down. So all I'm doing is adding a little bit of glue where I think it needs to go, and I didn't really think it needed to go where it needed to go. I thought it needed to go, but it didn't. You'll see here in a minute. My panel's a little too short for my snowy hill bank, and I realize this as I'm gluing it down. So I pick it up, and I mash down where I need to mash down. And it's like, ooh, I probably should get rid of that glue. So once I've got that all creased in there, and we're set, I'll wipe off the excess, but then I'll add in enough glue to be able to adhere this to my night sky. Now I've gone ahead off camera and cut out the night sky that I did with the Outside In Stitched rectangle, oh not rectangle, sorry, scalloped rectangle, and I am just building my scene. I really like the scallop die one because it's so nice to just kind of puzzle piece everything together like that with that pretty scalloped edge and all the different layers. And once I've got that down and it's dry, I'm going to take the Christmas lights and I'm just going to kind of trim them around just to kind of make it look like it's going around the back side of it. Now, I wish this could wrap around like how I have it on the one side, but this is going to be the little beaver's Christmas tree because he cut down the rest of the tree and used it for the dam that they built outside of the scene here. Oh my god, I cannot speak. Anyway, so because this is a little Christmas log, I'm going to add a little Christmas star to the top. So he kind of has his little Christmas log with a string of lights. And once I'm happy with that, I am going to add in this little Santa, because Santa just stopped by and dropped off all of the little maple syrup to the little beaver. You know, this beaver could probably live up in the Yukon territories, and maybe he lives in Yellowknife where it's really snowy and cold this time of year, and maybe Santa dropped him off that box of maple syrup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Distress Soot archival ink. Now, I've had this ink for a while. It came in a set that I think I got with a couple of brown ones, and I didn't realize it was archival ink. I thought it was a Distress Oxide ink, and for the longest time I couldn't understand why it wasn't behaving like the Oxide inks, and lo and behold, it's an archival ink, and I think I probably had it for 6 months before I even realized, and boy, I tell ya, it was a eureka moment. I felt so dumb. It was kind of like a slapping of my forehead, like, oh my god, no wonder it didn't work, Keight. It's a totally different medium from the Oxide inks. Yeah, so I kind of felt a little dumb for that one. But that Santa Claus in the sky there, that one's from Ready, Set, Snow. I thought that one was perfect. I know that is in a couple of other stamp sets, but I can't think of which ones off the top of my head. But I don't know if they're a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger, but I don't know. I like that little stamp there. I think it's adorable. And it's one of those little filler stamps that you kind of don't think about it, but when you need something, it's like, oh yeah. So, because I've got a bunch of layers here, I'm just cutting some of the logs down to fit where so it's level. And then this guy right here, I just put a little dab of glue and folded it over in the crease, and then I cut it so that way I could just adhere it to the star, and that way nothing gets kind of smooshed and, bendy or falls in, or it's just flat and flush and even, and I don't know. I thought this was a nice idea, or at least a nice alternative, because foam tape I think would have been a little too bulky for what I was trying to achieve here. So that's all I'm doing here, is I'm gluing those little bits down to the back of my log, and then I'm just going to add in some more glue. And then it's kind of like you're puzzle piecing everything together, like you're playing Tetris or something like that. So once I'm happy with the amount of glue, I'm going to pick up this piece with my reverse tweezers. But first I'm going to add just a smidge more glue around that edge right there. And then I'm going to use my reverse tweezers. So I'm going to line that up to be underneath, Santa and his little reindeer. 4 reindeer. Yeah, because you can't see the other 4. And then I'm going to take the little beaver here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white Jelly Roll pen to the outside line, because I found that I added a little bit too much of the Copic markers, and the alcohol kind of seeped over the line. So that's one thing I find with this Recollections 110-pound paper. If I'm too heavy with my color, it does bleed a little bit. So, and once I'm done figuring out, I should say, I am going to take him and his little box, and I'm going to adhere him. But I'm thinking maybe I'll add a little bit of foam tape, just to give it a little more dimension. So I've got this little sliver of foam tape left over from a previous craft project. I think I need to buy more of this stuff, because I think I'm almost out. I mean, I have like the big roll of foam tape, and I have other rolls of foam tape, but I find that the thickness sometimes is just a little bit too big. And these little squares of foam tape, they came from the dollar store, and I do find them very handy. You keep using them like this, it kind of gets expensive, because I think they're like $2 or $3 for, I don't know how many come in the pack, but they're cheap for little bits like this, but you keep buying them, you get more out of a roll of foam tape than you do out of the box of these little squares, but they are handy, and I do like them, and they're good in a pinch. So once I've added enough foam squares to the back side of my cute little happy smiley beaver, I am going to add him down there. Now, I'm thinking, do I add foam tape to this guy? Do I just glue him down? And I think, maybe I will add a little bit of foam tape, because the back side of the box with the maple syrup in it is a little uneven, and maybe the foam tape will help even it out a bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut down these little squares to fit in behind the box and the maple syrup, and then that way there's no unevenness, I guess, because yeah, the foam tape kind of compensates for that, I guess, a little bit. So once I'm done adding all that in and removing the release tape, I'll add a little bit of glue just to make sure, because we are gluing on glitter, and I find that the white Lawn Fawn glue holds a little bit better than my clear liquid Tombow mono glue. Yes. So because I always forget to do this step, we are going to come back in with the Jelly Roll pen. This is the white Sakura Jelly Roll pen in the 0.8, and I'm just going to go around doing a couple dashes and dots where I want to add a little bit of character and dimension. We'll throw some dashes and some dots on the box just to kind of give it more character. And of course, a little shine marks on the maple syrup bottles. And then we'll do the little Christmas log. I don't know, I really enjoyed putting this card together. This was the first card that I made with these beavers, and I don't know, all I could think of was the nickel and maple syrup and cold Canada winters. Well, not so much where I'm at. I mean, we do get cold, but we're like the Florida of Canada where I'm at, and we don't get that much snow here during Christmas time anymore. And here you have my finished card. Off camera, I'd hot foiled my sentiment and cut it down to size and adhered it. And because you stuck around to the end, here's the bonus card that I made with the log cabin. And here you can see the side-by-side scene that I created. Don't they just look so happy? And as always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.